Hey everybody, I am going to show you all how to do my version of the CI glue, or super glue, some people call it, finish on my pans. This is pretty much the only finish that I do now. It lasts really well. We're going to be doing it on a piece of cocoa bolo here that I just turned. And so you can see it's real simple, it's real quick, and you should get amazing results with it. The first thing you got to do is I use the middle of the three thicknesses of the CI glue. This is the middle color. It's called Hot Stuff. It's the orange color. They make a green and a red. One's real thick and one's real watery. This is the middle between the two. I like to use this one because it's not so runny that it runs away, but it's not so thick that it doesn't soak into the wood. Some people will start with the thin stuff, do a couple coats of that, and then go right to this. I pretty much primarily just use this, and so I'll show you how to do it. The first and most important thing is to do a good job of sanding. I'll start off, see if you can see these here, working through this set of grits, 150 all the way up to 600, and then I take it one step farther and use a small roll of this 1000 grit and just use a little bit of it before I put any of my finish on. The next thing I'm going to do is take a cotton rag with the CI glue, and I always put the glue on the rag because I don't want to put it on my wood first because it'll start to set up and I'll have a little watermark there. So what I want to do is I take a cotton rag, put my CI glue in it. I never ever want to do this with the lathe on. I've seen some people do it with the lathe on and you're risking flinging super glue everywhere, and if you get it in your eyes, it's not a good deal. Also, I want to let you be aware of that CI glue and cotton, this is just a cotton t-shirt type material, there's a chemical reaction, so it gets very hot, it dries very quickly, and the rag will steam and smoke. So it's real important that you spend more than 3 seconds rubbing this in and get the rag away from your face, because the fumes probably are pretty toxic and they will burn your eyes. So I'm going to take a glob. I remember to double up on the rag, so this is also not touching my finger. And then just rotate my hand. Don't worry about it getting on your bushings, and that's as much as you can do. I don't know if you can see that steaming or smoking there, but I'll put one coat on, and that's how I do it. Now I'll take the accelerator, spray it from a distance. I don't want to get it too close because it'll cloud up my finish. It's just enough so it helps it set up so I'm not working through a tacky finish again. And what I'll do is I'll work with a new piece of rag each time, and I'll probably put about 3 coats on just the exact same way. And that's really all I do. Get that away from my face as it starts to steam and smoke. I haven't tried other materials. I don't like napkins or paper towels because they tend to have a little bit of fuzz that I don't want to get left behind. Hit it from a distance again, and let's put my last coat on. Now if you find yourself with a really porous wood, say Wingate, you may use the thin stuff first. That might help fill in some of the pores a little bit better. That's the last coat that I'll do. Hit it from a distance. And now I will take my micro mesh sandpaper. It starts at about a 1500 grit and goes all the way up to about a 12,000. And actually I will skip the first 2 grits depending on how good of a job I did on my finish, and start right in with the second or third in line. If I find out that I have some streaks in it, I may start off with the second or even the first. I've had enough practice with this that I start with the third. The reason I do start with the third set in the series is because I don't want it so coarse that it actually eats through my finish and I'll get little cloudy spots and shiny spots. So this is already dry, so I'm going to take my micro mesh sandpaper, starting the lathe off on a slow speed. I want to do this slow because this is such a fine abrasive that you can actually melt these things of micromesh sandpaper. Some people use them wet doing this. I use them dry and have had really good results. So let me go ahead and start the lathe. And I'll turn it down. You may notice it gets a little chalky colored. That's okay. I'll just work my way through all of these. I don't spend an excessive amount of time on them. Just keep the sandpaper kind of rolling. If you start to feel that it's getting warm, flip it over and use the other side. And I'm almost to my last grit here. So go ahead and stop the lathe. You can see it's kind of chalky colored. Doesn't look the greatest. But what I finished with is a stuff called Hut Plastic Polish. And that is the final stage in polishing this pin. Hut Plastic Polish is a micro abrasive. It's almost like an automotive rubbing compound. So if you don't have access to this stuff, you can use an automotive rubbing compound. May just take out little scratches or streak marks. So I'll take part of my clean rag, just put a glob on. Try not to make a mess, which I did. And there's not a wrong way to put this on. You just kind of smear it all over, and then we're going to crank our lathe up. If you're using a mini lathe, just crank it up all the way. You want this fast because you really want to work this in. That's about all I'll do. And then I'll just take my clean rag and just wipe whatever excess off. And that is it. Does a really nice job. If you're wondering what happens to the bushings, they do sometimes get stuck on. All I do is slide the whole unit off and just give each end a little tap on the metal bed of your lathe, and they come right off. See if I can get this camera to focus here. And that's really it. I just do 3 coats. Between each coat, I hit it with the CA or the accelerator, making sure not to cloud the finish. Run through my micromesh sandpaper and end with the Hut Plastic Polish, and you will have an amazingly shiny, fingerprint-free pen. And this finish is going to last. It's a hard finish. It's not going to wear off. And if you're selling pens, people tend to go for the shiny stuff over the dull stuff. And that was how I do it. Feel free to post any comments if you have any questions. And thanks for watching.